What up, everybody? It's me, Tom, with Collateral Base. We're going to have a small How to Cannabis, and this one's going to involve membership interest purchase agreements. What are those? Well, we're going to have Miggy come on as well, and we're going to discuss them because, Miggy, you might be like a lot of cannabis owners that are out there that maybe have never heard of a membership interest purchase agreement, or a MIPA, as what they're called. Now, this is a device that you use to sell your personal property called a membership interest in an LLC. That's what you call them in LLCs. This would be a share purchase agreement if we were talking about corporations. Most cannabis companies these days are LLCs because they have a lot more flexibility and other reasons for having them.
But a MIPA would be like an agreement amongst all the shareholders, I guess, right?
Yes, there are rules in your operating agreement restricting when a MIPA could be entered into effectively. And that means that if you are trying to buy or sell a cannabis license, there is a good probability a MIPA may be involved, because if you look at the regulations of the particular jurisdiction, very often they only allow for the transfer of the license by the purchase of the stock. They don't allow, or the membership interest. They don't allow necessarily for the transfer of the license to buy the assets, which is interesting, but makes sense, because when you do an asset purchase agreement instead of a membership interest or a share purchase agreement, there's a difference in M&A. And so sometimes you just want to buy the assets. Yeah. That's your asset purchase agreements. And like all the risks and liabilities, like the back due rent and the other issues like may be out there with lawsuit risk or other types of risks and liabilities, those are on you, other LLC. I don't want those. But very often in the industry, the regulations say that you have to transfer the license by sale of the membership interest or the shares. And that is probably because the license was issued to a particular company. At least that's how it is in my state. It may be different in your state. Then we could use an APA, an asset purchase agreement, instead of a MIPA.
But would the MIPA be like only for purchases, like, or selling? Like, that's the only big time when like big decisions would be made?
That's right. And so like, because you're actually selling the membership interest of the LLC. Now, people, you and me, we can't own the assets of an LLC. We can own the membership interest of the LLC. And so we have a right in the whole going concern, all of its assets, that's encapsulated into that little stock right, or more membership interest right, and then that money flows through onto you. So you want to have a nice profitable company, so that equity interest that you have is paying you money.
Yeah. For an LLC though, how does one acquire that? Like, when you initially do that, is it the first person, and then when you bring on all these other people, are they all like sign on and say, yes, we are part of that LLC?
That would be a subscription agreement. And so that is a slightly different thing than a membership interest purchase agreement. Because, then you're allowing a new member in. There would probably be an amended operating agreement and then a subscription agreement for the new accredited investor who came in. And then you'd have to update the ownership percentages as well on that. And that would probably be provided in the amended operating agreement. And that's more of an investor. Usually a MIPA is more of an exit. You're gone. Like we are, like for whatever reason, litigation happens a lot. And then litigation could kind of sideline the business a little bit, or debt, or like what happens if you get fined by them,
as a corporation.
Yeah, but that's kind of annoying when you get fined like that. That's usually going to end a license, because if you're not allowed to sell the asset, you're just going to be sitting there trailing with like a $500,000 debt over your head. And then you'd have to work with a regulator to be like, well, how can is there structured funding that I can do? Like, what type of financing would you be interested in? You know how much money we're giving you in taxes. So how much more would you like?
How hard is it to get an LLC?
Oh, it's very easy to get an LLC. That's one of the reasons why we do them. And so some states, most of them, except for Massachusetts, for whatever reason, has updated their LLC filings. So they're quite cheap now. Corporations are quite cheap as well. And so like in the last state I was looking, corporation was like $175 to file, $125 a year to file your annual report.
Okay. So if I start an LLC, say today, where am I trying to go? Okay. So like, how much does it cost to start with an LLC, to start building that up?
On ours, it's actually $200. But let's see here. I'll go to the, is that going to take me to our landing page? It may. It doesn't. But then it takes us to our landing page, which then takes us to our landing page. And so you can go and retain the collateral base and get started on it. And then that'll take you to our pricing area where menu of services is. And then, so our retainer, $200. And then your operating agreement, we'll charge anywhere from 250 to about 10 times that, because they're all frickin' different. And so it just really depends. And usually you don't even need an operating agreement. Then you have the default rules, but then you're operating solely by the statute. You see, like I said, there's a lot more flexibility with these limited liability companies. And they used to be a lot more expensive. Like, you know, the filing fee used to be like $500 and then $500 a year. But then most of the states changed that to, you know, spur innovation and job creation and to make it easier to start one. So you don't even need an operating agreement. But if you don't got one, you're stupid.
So if I start my LLC, like, how does the banking issue work with an LLC? Like, do I create a bank account under my company's name? Like, how does that? So that works. Is it based off my credit, or is it based off like the actual company's?
The company's credit. Eventually, it's mostly going to be based off the organizer's credit until it starts cash flowing and paying some taxes. And then, you know, Dun & Bradstreet kind of has like a cottage industry on this, and they'll start like reviewing your company and going like, "We think you're worth this."
Oh, okay, interesting. I've always wanted as a, you know, business side of things, but life
out of cannabis, you know. And then the other thing is, one of the other deals, we're going to start doing office hours at the firm. So you should have gotten an email, and then we'll be advertising this more. Come to our office hours, because that's where I can really walk you through the collateral based retainer system that you get. And, you know, it's software as a service, but it's a law firm.
Oh yeah, it's still, everything costs, and it's a thing. And again, if you're going to get into business, you're going to realize that already.
Correct. That's correct. Hey man, do you got anything else for the good of the order and the people that tuned in?
No, I really am trying to make a bonus episode, so look for that.
Cool. I'm going to go get back to making sure the deadlines get hit, and then the people that ordered things get their orders processed.
All right, sounds good.
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, you can always check us out at cannabislegalizationnews.com. There, I plugged that site for once.
All right. Brown chicken, brown cow.